There is a small island country in Europe that is often described as one of the most touristy places on the continent. Despite its tiny size, it attracts visitors throughout the year and can feel surprisingly crowded, especially during the busiest months. On a map, Malta almost looks like a tiny dot floating in the middle of the Mediterranean. The entire country covers just 316 square kilometers, yet around 600,000 people call it home. Malta is also a member of the European Union and is a country that most people have probably heard of at least once. That country is Malta. As an island nation, Malta doesn't share a land border with any other country. International visitors can reach it only by sea or by air. The country's official languages are Maltese and English, so communication is rarely a major issue for visitors. If you speak English, you can comfortably get around without having to learn Maltese before your trip. So, let's take a journey through Malta and discover what life on this tiny Mediterranean island is really like. We'll look at some of the things that make Malta so attractive, as well as some of the challenges that come with living in such a small and crowded country. We'll follow everyday life from the early hours of the morning until late at night and discover what an ordinary day in Malta can actually look like. To begin with, Malta enjoys a relatively mild climate throughout the year. Even during the coldest months, such as January and February, average temperatures are around 15 degrees Celsius. Thanks to its location in the Mediterranean, the island enjoys plenty of sunshine compared with many other parts of Europe. And as soon as the first light of day appears, people begin heading outside. Some are locals getting ready for work, while others are tourists who prefer to start exploring before the streets become busy. For those who have some free time in the morning, exercise is often part of the daily routine. You'll see people putting on their sportswear and heading out for a walk or a morning run. Some prefer exercising alone, while others take their dogs along for a stroll. If you're thinking about owning a pet in Malta, you'll also notice signs reminding dog owners to clean up after their animals. And despite the fact that it may technically be winter, don't be surprised to see people heading toward the rocky coastline to relax in the sun, or even take a swim. At first, seeing people sunbathing on rocks instead of a sandy beach can seem unusual. But around Valletta, Malta's capital city, traditional sandy beaches are actually quite uncommon. Much of the coastline consists of steep limestone cliffs and rocky platforms. Walking across these rocks can be slippery, so metal ladders have been installed in many areas along the shoreline, allowing people to climb down and enter the sea. The waterfront isn't only a place for swimming or sunbathing. It's also somewhere people come to take a quiet walk, meet friends, or simply spend some time outdoors by the water. And mornings in Malta aren't just about exercise and swimming. If you look closely, you'll notice another familiar sight: older local men spending their mornings fishing. In some places, you might even see people swimming in the same stretch of water where others are fishing just a few meters away. Most of these fishermen aren't commercial fishermen. Many are simply catching fish for themselves and their families. Fishing and seafood are deeply connected to Mediterranean food culture, and fish remains an important part of the local diet. If you're looking for a peaceful side of Malta, the early morning hours are probably the best time to experience it. Before noon, the island can feel surprisingly calm. People sit in cafes enjoying breakfast or a morning coffee, while the narrow streets are still relatively quiet and easy to explore. It's also an ideal time for photography. The softer morning light makes the old buildings look even more impressive, and with fewer people on the streets, it's much easier to discover Malta's quieter corners and hidden details, but that peaceful atmosphere doesn't last forever. As midday approaches, the presence of tourists becomes much more obvious. The number of people on the streets increases rapidly. Roads become busier, traffic starts building up, and the noise level rises as people travel between different parts of the island. And traffic is one of the biggest complaints among people who actually live in Malta. Considering how small the country is, the number of vehicles on its roads is surprisingly high. By 2025, estimates put the number of vehicles in Malta at more than 450,000. Think about that for a moment. a country with an area of just 316 square kilometers and a population of around 600,000 people, has more than 450,000 vehicles. That's an enormous number of cars for such a small island. And the situation becomes even more complicated when tourists arrive. Many visitors rent cars because they want the freedom to explore different parts of Malta at their own pace. While that can be convenient for tourists, it also adds more vehicles to roads that are already under pressure. So, although Malta may look tiny on a map, the island can feel anything but small once the streets fill with residents, tourists, buses, taxis, and hundreds of thousands of vehicles. And this is just one of the contradictions that make life in Malta so interesting. It's a beautiful Mediterranean island with sunshine, historic cities, clear water, and a relaxed outdoor lifestyle. But at the same time, its limited space, large number of vehicles, and enormous popularity with tourists create challenges that are impossible to ignore. And as the day continues, Malta becomes even busier. The quiet island we saw in the early morning gradually transforms into a crowded Mediterranean destination, revealing both the beauty and the everyday realities of life in one of Europe's smallest countries. Technically, you can drive from one end of the island to the other in about an hour. But with so many cars, simply finding a parking space can become a frustrating task. Malta's streets are extremely narrow, and if you park your car in a way that blocks passage even slightly, there's a good chance you'll receive a parking fine. In fact, one of the biggest status symbols in Malta is owning a property that includes a private parking space, something that is surprisingly valuable in such a small country. Interestingly, Malta does not have a metro or tram system. The island is built largely on hard limestone, making it extremely difficult to dig tunnels for underground infrastructure. Large excavation projects could also damage the country's historical structures. So, building a metro system simply isn't practical. If you don't want to rent a car or rely on buses, there's a third transportation option: ferries. Across Malta, ferries connect different parts of the island and nearby areas by sea. It's actually a unique advantage compared to many other countries. Ferries not only make transportation easier, but also make the journey itself more enjoyable. Despite this, many locals still feel that the public transportation system is insufficient, which is one of the reasons so many people end up buying their own vehicles. It's also worth mentioning that public transportation is free for residents. Tourists, however, need to purchase travel cards to use buses and other services. When you explore the streets of Valletta during the afternoon, you'll quickly notice how narrow the roads are. Many streets have sharp turns and single-lane pathways. Even though traffic can be frustrating, the city's architecture, the maze-like alleyways, and the warm tones of Malta's traditional limestone houses make it a truly fascinating place to explore. Almost everywhere you turn in the capital, there seems to be a story from the past waiting to be discovered. You might simply want to take photos in these historic streets and squares, or you might choose to learn about the stories behind the stone buildings that surround you. Either way, being there can make the experience feel much more meaningful. Another thing you'll quickly notice is that despite the heavy crowds, the streets of the capital are remarkably clean. Whatever you choose to do during the day, whether it's sightseeing, relaxing, or exploring, simply walking through the squares and streets of Valletta can bring a surprising sense of peace and happiness. Today, Valletta is considered the heart of Malta, but the city was originally founded in 1566 by the Knights of St. John. Its purpose was largely strategic, to build a strong defensive city that could protect the island and control the surrounding harbors. At the time, the goal was to create a fortified city capable of resisting attacks, especially against the expanding power of the Ottoman Empire in the Mediterranean. Today, both the island of Malta and its capital, Valletta, are listed as UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Because of this, the city will likely never grow or change dramatically. Valletta remains a capital that was essentially designed in a single historical plan, preserving its unique character. If you look closely at the homes where locals live, you'll notice buildings constructed from yellowish limestone blocks. Many of the balconies are made of wood, often painted in bright colors. When you walk through the side streets and gently look up, you'll notice that the spaces between the buildings are often decorated in a way that perfectly matches the atmosphere of the city. Some of these streets are so charming that they almost look like something from a postcard. Because the buildings are built so close together, it becomes easier to decorate the narrow streets with plants and colorful ornaments. Of course, there is also a commercial side to this. Many of these beautifully decorated streets are filled with cafes that take advantage of the cozy setting. When people think of the Mediterranean climate and geography, one symbol that often comes to mind is cats, and Malta is no exception. In simple terms, the Maltese people often appear like a blend between Middle Eastern and European populations. Malta is also one of the 10 smallest countries in the world, so getting lost here is extremely unlikely. Even if you visit as a tourist for just 3 days, by the end of your first day, you'll probably already feel like you've memorized Valletta. In the capital, people rarely need navigation apps. Around 80% of the local population knows each other in some way. Locals see the same faces everywhere and naturally develop social and economic connections. However, the country's small size can also create psychological pressure. Some people eventually feel as if they are living in an open-air prison. The magnificent architecture and charming streets that amaze visitors can become ordinary to locals, while limited space can create boredom, frustration, and less privacy. Housing is another major issue. Because new buildings are not constructed fast enough to meet demand, people often pay high rents for older homes. Land is scarce, making it extremely difficult for the average person to buy a house. Many young Maltese adults live with their families until their late 20s or even their 30s. For working people, monthly rent for a 1 or 2 bedroom apartment can easily reach around €1,000 or more. Because of this, many people who move to Malta for work prefer renting a room instead of an entire apartment. Since Malta is a member of the European Union, the country uses the euro as its currency. Job opportunities are relatively limited, with tourism and education playing major roles. Some of the world's largest language schools are located here, and every year, tens of thousands of people over 18 travel to Malta to learn English. This creates a large population of young students. While walking around Malta, you may notice that many of the people you see are in their 20s. These students support not only education, but also accommodation, food services, and entertainment. Malta is famous for its historic streets, stunning architecture, and beaches, but it is also recognized worldwide for its vibrant nightlife. Because so many students come here to learn languages, the nightlife scene is a mix of students and tourists. Even during winter, the streets can remain lively. After spending the day working, visiting beaches or exploring historical sites, locals and tourists prepare to go out in the evening. Unlike early morning walks, evening walks are mostly about socializing and having fun. One of the most famous nightlife areas is Paceville, known as the heart of nightlife near Valletta. It is filled with bright lights, crowded streets, and numerous nightclubs with many visitors between 18 and 30 years old. The atmosphere revolves around music, dancing, and alcohol. Since the venues are very close together, people can easily leave one nightclub and enter another within seconds. One major downside of Malta's nightlife is overcrowding and excessive alcohol consumption. Rowdy behavior, harassment, and theft of valuable items such as phones and wallets can occur. Women may also experience unwanted attention, contributing to increased crime in nightlife areas. Some bars also sell drinks at unusually low prices. While this encourages people to drink more, cheap alcohol can sometimes be of questionable quality and may pose health risks. Many nightclubs stay open until the early hours, while summer beach parties are extremely popular. Malta's nightlife generally appeals more to young singles than families or married couples. Of course, not everyone goes out to visit clubs. Some simply enjoy walking around the city late at night. People usually dress casually but stylishly, and it's quite normal to walk freely around the city after dark. Occasionally, you may see homeless individuals, but they generally don't pose any danger. If you get hungry, many fast food restaurants and supermarkets remain open. Although the streets and businesses are well lit, the large number of cars and narrow sidewalks can make walking uncomfortable. Crowded pathways often mean bumping shoulders with other pedestrians. During winter nights, temperatures can drop to around 5 or 6 degrees Celsius, so most people wear thick jackets and warm sweaters. After midnight, people gradually head home. Those without cars usually rely on ferries or city buses. It's a safe and warm destination filled with beaches and opportunities to meet new people. But for those considering living here permanently, Malta is also a very small country where rents are high and the number of places to explore is somewhat limited. See you in the next one. Goodbye.